you've decided to give a speech for this class, or been required to give a speech for this class, or you've been asked to give a speech at work, or maybe you've been asked to give a presentation for a civic group, or a club, or many other opportunities. How do you decide what your topic should be and what the purpose of your presentation should be? Using O'Hare and Rubenstein's Pocket Guide to Public Speaking, the 7th edition, I'm Dr. Heidi, and I am going to discuss with you selecting a topic and purpose. First of all, you have to explore your topics for your speech, obviously. How do we do this? Through a couple of different methods. Well, you can make an inventory of the things that you feel you're an expert in or that you know a lot about. You can also focus on social issues of consequence. Of course, we have to be careful when selecting those topics, which we discussed in the audience analysis. What you want to do, though, is to pick a topic that A, you are drawn to, because you don't really want to talk about something you're not interested in. B, that you may want to know more about. Even if you're already interested in it, doesn't mean you know everything about it. And is it current or relevant? Like, does it really make sense to other people? Do other people want to hear about this? Those are all things you should take into consideration. You want to steer clear from any topics that are overused or rather trivial, especially in a situation like this where there are so many different people and such a culturally diverse audience that it's going to be difficult to address topics that may be overused, because you can consider topics that yield fresh insights, and then be aware of choosing highly charged topics. So it may be relevant to discuss pro-life or pro-choice. It may be relevant to discuss gun control bans, limiting access to guns, etc. Smoking, stopping or cessation of smoking is a good idea, but a lot of these topics have been overused. I have heard them many times, as have most people, and most people have already formed an opinion about them. So what are you going to do to make it different, to change things? Or to change the audience's attitudes, beliefs, or values? You might try brainstorming or generating ideas for selecting a topic. Now this is kind of fun. Essentially, you generate ideas suddenly. In other words, you sit down with a piece of paper and you start writing everything you think that you could possibly give a speech about. These ideas can be connected through word association, topic mapping, or internet browsing. If you search on the internet, Google something that seems interesting to you, or even topics for an informative speech, topics for a persuasive speech, you're going to get a list. And so those are things that you could use as topics in our class. Topic mapping is where you write one word and then you circle that word, think of it as many things as you can that have to do with that, and then circle the next word and do it again and again. The reason that that is cool is if you start with a common word, I usually start with the word hospital when I'm doing this in the classroom. And there are many things that people think of when it comes to hospitals. And then if you circle the next level, it might be insurance. And there are, again, many things that people think of when we talk about insurance. Brainstorming can also be word association. Like I said, you can write down a single topic, write all the things that come to mind about that topic, and you can continue until you have 15 to 20 items. Try not to do many more than that because it's going to make it really hard to choose a topic. And again, you're going to be stuck rather than excited about choosing a topic. You then want to narrow your list and select a topic that will best work for the speech you are either assigned to give in a class or that you've been asked to give in a business or professional situation. Topic or mind mapping is something I've already mentioned. but you can write down a potential topic and then write down ideas related to it. A topic map allows you to visualize relationships, and it spurs creative thinking. It might also spur critical thinking about whether the topic will be suited or not suited for your subject or your purpose. You want to identify the general purpose of the speech. So the general purpose answers the question, what is my objective in speaking on this topic to this audience on this occasion? Remember, we talked about the purposes of a speech: to inform, to persuade, or to entertain. That's going to be the general purpose of your speech. When you are informing or educating someone, you want to increase the audience's awareness by enhancing the understanding of the topic, defining, describing, explaining, or demonstrating something. My students in particular will be demonstrating information, but then they're also going to do a little bit more challenging speech where they will explain, describe, or define a topic. There's also going to be an opportunity for a persuasive speech in our classroom where we want to change the audience's attitudes, beliefs, or values. Now, persuasive speeches probably happen more often in real life, in the workspace, but you also have informative speeches where you're just telling people how something works, how something needs to happen, or how some money will be spent. So let's say you're a computer programmer. You're going to have to explain to people who understand nothing about computer programming how this system is going to work, especially if you're programming websites. How is it going to work? How is it going to be user-friendly? This is only going to be an informative speech. You're not trying to persuade them to use it. They already know they have to use the website or the computer program. Speeches on special occasions. The idea is to entertain, celebrate, commensurate, inspire, or include a social agenda. The speech could be an introduction, acceptance, after dinner speech, a eulogy, a roast, or a toast. If you are giving a eulogy, it is not supposed to be funny. Can you tell jokes or funny stories during the eulogy? Absolutely, as long as they are well placed. A roast or a toast, on the other hand, is not supposed to be sad. They are supposed to be funny. So you want to add as many funny stories, jokes, and anecdotes as you can when you are giving a roast or a toast. Then you want to refine the topic and the purpose. So we have a general topic. It has to fit into our general purpose. And now we have to refine the topic and purpose. We need to consider what the audience already knows, consider what aspects are most relevant, pick a discrete topic category, and restrict your main points. Here it says between 2 and 5. I usually ask my students to use 3 main points. The reason I ask for that is that audiences can remember 3 main points fairly easily, and that is what they will look for. If you have 2, you're trying to cram too much information into a small number of main points, and your point may get lost in all of the information that you're providing. Again, if you go up to 5 main points, it's going to have too much information. And if you only have a short amount of time, like 5 to 7 minutes, to present your information, then 5 is going to be way too many main points. If you're speaking for an hour, feel free, you can go ahead and try up to 5 main points. But you might have a little practice to do before you get to giving hour-long speeches. You want to narrow your topic. So brainstorming, like we talked about at the beginning, for a general topic, it could also be used to narrow your topic. You can brainstorm by category, use an online subject dictionary. Like I mentioned earlier, you can just look up topics for informative speeches or topics for persuasive speeches. And then you can browse through related subtopics to each of those topic categories. You want to form a specific speech purpose. General topics, general purpose. Now we move on to specific purpose of the speech. is what you want your listeners to learn, to consider, or agree with the specific topic. It is your specific to your aim. It is stated in the form of action, and it is seldom articulated in the speech itself. In other words, you don't say, my general purpose of my speech is to inform, and then I want to inform you about the weather outside today. That seems kind of awkward. You do have to compose a thesis statement. This is where you're going to tell your listeners specifically what the speech is about. But it's the theme of the speech, and it is stated in a single declarative sentence. This is not where you preview your main points. This is just where you explain exactly what the speech is going to be about. It expresses what you attempt to demonstrate, explain, call action toward, and it must be clearly stated because the entire speech rests on it. The entire speech is contained in the thesis statement or the central idea. When you're selecting a topic and a purpose for any speech, these are some good things to keep in mind. Not only these pieces of information, also keep in mind what interests you as the speaker, because you're going to spend a lot of time with the topic, and what interests the audience. They are, after all, the focal point of any speech.